Welcome back to Acts chapter 2 as we continue our chronological study through the entire New Testament. And last time we were together, I was just examining a verse in Luke chapter 14 where Jesus said, when you give a reception, don't invite your friends and your rich relatives because they're going to pay you back. Invite those, and now I'm reading from Luke chapter 14 and verse 13, invite those who are poor, those who are crippled and lame and blind. Well, you can understand crippled, lame, and blind people, especially back in Jesus' day and around the world today in the developing countries, they have no means to earn an income or make a living, and so people have mercy on them. They're usually the ones who are begging in the street, and it's obvious. You can see their handicaps. You can see why they're not working, and so you feel compassion for them. Jesus also listed the poor. We talked last time about what it means to be biblically poor. That is, one who is lacking the most basic needs of food and clothing and covering. And so we see in the book of Acts, and this is our main topic now back in Acts chapter 2, that in Acts chapter 4, the writer of Acts, our friend Luke, said there was not one needy person among them because people were selling their possessions and, they were meeting those needs. Not a needy one. So nobody lacked food or covering. Okay? And that's what we ought to be making sure of, that there aren't those kinds of needy people within the family of God, our beloved brothers and sisters around this world. And this all ties into what Christ taught us in his foretelling of the sheep and the goats, didn't he? The sheep were characterized by meeting the pressing needs of not their friends in church who lost their job and couldn't make their car payment. Okay, as nice as it might be to, slip them, a C note and say, hey, let me help you with your car payment this month. But I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty. You gave me a drink. I was naked and you clothed me. So there's the food and the clothing thing. Okay, I was sick. I was in prison. I was a stranger. You invited me in. Okay, those are truly needy people. We're living in this country. I live in the United States. You could be living in the United States or elsewhere. There's plenty of countries that have an economic engine like in the U.S. that's made every one of us rich. And even the people who are poor are rich by wealthy standards. And there's lots of social services and lots of government programs and lots of agencies that are doing their best to help people who are disadvantaged or who meet on hard times. A lot of safety nets here. I mean, you and I are so blessed to live in such a place as this, and it has a lot to do with our Christian heritage and the building of the foundations of the structure of our society have some origins in our Judeo-Christian ethic, and even Western nations that don't have that Christian or Judeo-Christian ethic built into their culture, if they imitate the principles that are followed by those of us who have that Judeo-Christian ethic, namely, a capitalistic system where people are free to work hard and use their take initiative and use their creativity and their skills and benefit as they benefit others, because that's what ultimately happens. My happiness is tied up in your happiness because we need a win-win situation. I'm going to create a product. You're going to buy it. You're going to be happy. I'm going to be happy because I made a profit, and on it goes. And that's a beautiful thing that has just created so much wealth for us today. I'm thinking about this computer right here that I have. I mean, this is something that many people nowadays in the Western world have, but many people in developing countries wouldn't think of ever possible. I've given pastors a bicycle and watched them cry because they never dreamed that they would own a bicycle because it was so far out of reach for them, $100 for a sturdy bike. Okay, but look at this. Did this computer just fall from the sky, from heaven? No, it was created on the earth out of materials that God put here. And all this is really just organized dirt, is what it is. I mean, here the plastic of the keys came from oil that came out of the ground. The titanium and all the metal parts and the circuitry all came, out of the ground somewhere, and it was put together. They just organized the dirt to come up with this fantastic machine. And so wealth is something that's created by people applying hard work and skills. And we live in a country that has just, enhanced that entire process, okay? And it's spreading around the world, thank God. Okay, but there's still these incredible pockets of poverty. And Heaven's Family that sponsors this teaching ministry is very much involved in many countries around the world, meeting pressing needs of widows and orphans and handicapped people and so forth. And so if all you do is watch this, and never get involved in heaven's family, I'm disappointed actually, because we have a higher purpose than just to feed you. We want to feed you and get you ready to stand before Jesus so that you can receive abundant reward and have lots of treasure laid up in heaven and hear him say those words we all want to hear him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Amen. Amen. This is good preaching. And you might say, well, that's a commercial. Well, it's not a commercial to make a profit. It's a commercial that can profit you. Okay? Now, let's finally get back to Acts chapter 2, and let's start reading in verse number 46. This is new stuff. Day by day, continuing with one mind in the temple and breaking bread from house to house. So you got stuff going on in the temple and the temple courts, of course, not in the temple proper, but the temple grounds that, where there was room for thousands and thousands of people. And house to house, they were taking their meals together with gladness and sincerity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord was adding to their number day by day those who were being saved. I got to make a comment on that one verse right there. There's always someone who's going to pipe up at that moment and say, you see, it's the Lord's sovereign will that decides who will be added to the church. And I love these folks. I just wish they'd read all the verses in the Bible to bring some balance to the verses that they always love to pull out of their context. That verses like this that show that God is very active in the salvation process. Hey, that's not news to anybody who's ever read the Bible. But God is not the only one involved in the salvation process. He influences hearts. He moves upon hearts. But he has given us a free will. Okay? And, it's a combination between God and us working together to accomplish his will. Okay, out of time. I'll see you next time.
HeavenWord 7 is made possible by the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you.